Hi, everybody. This is Loren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal, and welcome to today's SEJ show with none other than Mark Traphagen from seoClarity. Mark, it's great to have you on today.
Loren, so good to be with you. I mean, so good to see you again. So good to see anybody after the year we've had, right? Even if it's virtual right now, like I'll take it. But great to be with you.
Same. And I really like ending the week with these shows. I kind of get all my work out of the way, and then we can just focus on chatting a little bit about the SEO industry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, I've been looking forward to this all week too. It just feels, when I'm with someone like you, it feels like, we're around the pub table at after an evening at a conference, something like that, and we're just shooting the stuff about SEO and all the things that we love and care about. So
late night at the Breeze Bar, but there we go. So before we get started, let's give you a chance to introduce yourself, because you've been there's been some changes going on, and you're with seoClarity now. So, or I guess you have been for a while. So. Yeah. Would you mind just giving a little bit of a background on yourself to our listeners and viewers today?
Sure. This is about my 14th career.
Okay.
I'm talking about digital marketing and SEO in particular. A lot of changes in my life, but my background was, kind of my 20s, I was in sales. Then through much of my 30s and 40s, I was in classroom teaching and school administration, and then went to graduate school late in life and got a job in the bookstore. And the second day I was there, the manager said, "Your job is to take us online."
Oh, so wow.
Little independent bookstore of a tiny little grad school college, and I threw me in the deep end with a computer and an internet connection, and we learned to do it. And I invented internet marketing all by myself. So it was
there you go.
It felt like I was, but I realized everything that I invented, somebody had else been doing for years, but the bug bit me and I got into the business. And so for most of my professional life in this life, for the last 15 years, I've been with agencies as a consultant with agencies, like a lot of us are, I'm sure. But then was ready for a change. And so a little over a year ago, right before COVID hit, made the leap in-house here with seoClarity, a leading SEO platform provider for enterprise level businesses, and took over as their VP of marketing and training. So we're not marketing, but product marketing in particular and training. So I wear two hats that I'm constantly switching back and forth between all day. And if the sun's strong enough, I need a hat. So
I agree. I agree. I have my share of top of head sunburns from time to time.
Absolutely.
How's the transition been? Like going from working, I mean, I guess within in-house at seoClarity, you're also working with lots of different clients and things like that. But how's the transition been from the agency side to the in-house side for you?
Yeah, it's an experience that I've shared now with a lot of people who maybe made the transition in that direction. I know people in our business go back and forth or go either way over the course of their career, but it's been a very interesting change. I love the world of agencies. I loved and hated it for all the same reasons, which is, when you're working with clients, it's always like something is new every day. And, it's the pressure of it is like, what did you do for me today? Even no matter how big a victory you had yesterday, and constantly having to come up with something new. But that was a good challenge, and it made me learn the business very quickly. But I'm really, really enjoying my time with seoClarity, because being in-house, focusing on marketing one business, you're focused. Like you can actually see projects through. You can build long-term things. You can build stuff for the future. You get to create things from scratch, and pretty much, especially with the wonderful support that I have in seoClarity, it's like, if I have an idea, 97% of the time they're going to say, try it out, do it, run with it, see what happens. So it's been a lot of fun. I really, really, really have enjoyed it. And as you said, I still get plenty of interaction with the clients. Don't do direct consulting anymore, but I'm called regularly onto calls with our clients to advise on different things that I know about. I do a lot of work with helping clients to get perspective on the larger things that are happening in the industry, and with Google, because I'm on social media all the time. I keep pretty good tabs on those. I'm a regular Search Engine Journal reader and writer, so keeping well informed and helping to keep our clients informed.
Amazing. That's great to hear. You're sleeping better at night?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like crazy, the support that I get and the affirmation, and Middle Gandhi, who's our founder and chief architect, CEO, is just so super supportive and just so excited about anything that we're working on. It's I know it's cliche, but this is a job where I literally get up in the morning and feel like I'm getting to do my hobby. I'm just creating things all day, which I love to do. So, and with the amount of innovation that happens at SEO Clarity is just astounding. So there's always something new and exciting to work on, some of which we'll be talking about during this half hour.
I'm probably misquoting this, but pick a career that you love, or pick something that you love to do as a career, and you won't work a day of your life, right? Isn't that something like that?
It is a cliche, but there's some truth to it. It really is a joy to enjoy what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
Well, before we get started, just to let everyone know, we're going to be discussing a lot about scaling enterprise SEO, and then also Edge SEO, which is something that I'm learning a little bit more about, and Mark has a lot of background and insight on. But before we get going, I just like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, which is the U.S. Search Awards. Today's SEJ show is brought to you by the U.S. Search Awards, which are now open for entry. 2021 is going to be the 9th year celebrating outstanding search across the U.S. Can you believe it, Mark? It's been 9 years of the U.S. Search Awards, almost a decade.
It's incredible. It's become such a big and important thing in our industry.
It really has. It really has. Early bird access is open until June 18th, which is really right around the corner. I can't believe it's almost June already. And then the awards are judged by a team of international industry-leading search experts who follow a rigorous, ethical, and transparent two-step judging process. You can enter in up to 43 different categories. I don't think those 43 categories 9 years ago, so that's pretty cool as well. I wonder if they're going to double the length of the show. And including SEO, PPC, digital marketing, and content marketing. Although the early bird access ends on June 18th, final submissions are due by the 25th of June. And then, of course, winners will be announced at the U.S. Search Awards ceremony on October 7th. U.S. Search Awards brought to you by Don't Panic Events and We Are Search, both award experts who have delivered search recognition around the globe. So if you can visit ussearchawards.com, again, that's ussearchawards.com, for more information and learn what you can submit today to share what you're doing with the rest of the industry and hopefully get some recognition. So I'm a big fan of the Search Awards, past judge, past winner, of course, and I think you have as well, right, on both sides.
Got quite a few under my belt personally, because I was very involved with Eric Enga, both at the old Stone Temple and then Proficient, as he merged with them or sold his business into them. In fact, I saw, and I was integrally involved in writing our entries for most of those years, and we won a lot. Saw today, just today, as a matter of fact, Don't Panic put out some stats on a page of their global leaders, and they've now subsumed Stone Temple's old awards under Proficient's brand. But Proficient's one of the leaders. We took home a lot of them over the years. So it was my joy last year to bring SEO Clarity for the first time into the U.S. Search Awards, and we walked away with two. Both of the ones that we entered, we won. So great joy. The company's enthusiastic. We just put in our Global Search Award entry, and we'll be entering U.S. Search Awards soon, getting in that early bird special. That's excellent.
That's excellent. So on last week's episode, it just occurred to me a way to connect episodes here. So on last week's episode of the SEJ show, I was speaking with Simon Heseltine, who we both know quite well.
Very good friend. Yeah.
About how for him the awards have helped to get recognition internally on the in-house side, and also really helped to expedite the ability to get things done, right? You get a win, you get recognized for the win, the company gets recognized for the win, and then it really helps to get internal buy-in on future projects and things like that, which kind of transitions in a little bit in what we're talking about today. You're working with a lot of enterprise SEOs at SEO Clarity. I've done a lot of enterprise SEO in the past, and sometimes there can be obstacles that are on the enterprise side, or timelines that don't help us really as SEOs get the ability to fulfill everything that we'd like to have fulfilled to grow that performance accordingly. And then before the show today, Mark, you were sharing a couple stats with me from Moz and from a survey that Barry Schwartz put out. Would you mind going over that again?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just the other day, Barry Schwartz took a survey on Twitter, and he has such a good following that he actually gets, I think, what might be close to statistically valid surveys even on Twitter. And his little headline was that I'm looking at it right here. It says 56% of SEOs say fewer than 40% of their SEO recommendations are implemented. So again, more than half of the SEOs he talked to said almost half of their SEO recommendations never get implemented. And I'm imagining that's probably a somewhat of a mix or balance between agency consultants or independent consultants like recommending things to clients, and the client never implements it, but also in-house people who just run into these roadblocks, especially in a large organization, all the approval levels and all the other fingers in the pie from other departments that can prevent you from getting your implementations. And there was, I don't remember the exact figure, but I know there was a Moz study from a few years ago that said something like 60% of SEO recommendations from an SEO department in an organization take at least 6 months to get implemented, or something like that. So that delay that we were hearing at seoClarity, we talk to our clients a lot. We really listen. Most of the innovation that we build, almost all of it, comes from listening to and hearing the pain points of our clients, and kind of their, every time a couple of clients say like, if only, we're listening. And we say like, if we can build that, we will. So what we're hearing is that the biggest challenge in enterprise SEO in particular is that time from data to insight. The insight meaning like you got the data, that's a big battle. Then what does that data mean? The insight that it tells you, we need to fix this, or we need more of better content, or we need to fix these things on our site, whatever it is, to action. And it's enough like just getting that on your own. But then if that action is dependent on other people and approval systems, and with that, it slows it down even more. So that's literally what our clients are telling us overall is their biggest frustration. In fact, just a quick anecdote. We have one very large old school brand that, if I mentioned it, everybody would know it, who we're not exaggerating. They literally like 3 or 4 years ago said, we're just giving up on doing SEO. This is the SEO department said like, we're giving up on doing, they didn't mean literally everything, but most of what they wanted to accomplish there was so much resistance within their organization to being able to make any changes on the site or implement anything. They just said, we're just going to create content and whatever. Like we're just giving up. They literally gave up. And so what we're working on now at seoClarity has been meant to address that very pain point.
It's interesting in a couple of ways what you brought up, because first of all, if it takes 6 months to implement part of SEO recommendations, so mixing those two studies or polls or together, if less than 50% of SEO recommendations are implemented, and it can take up to 6 months for that to happen, it can take between 3 months to 6 months to a year to really see a difference once things are implemented. So we're talking about extending the timeline. I mean, in worst case scenario, maybe a year and a half based upon that average, right? Of course, things seem to happen quicker than that, but it's always nice to under promise, over deliver from a timeline perspective. So that's almost a lifetime from a consulting perspective. That can be longer than the contract.
In the world of online business, that is a lifetime.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes it seems like literally a lifetime, because I remember back when I was working with Stone Temple and other agencies, you'd see somebody, come to an insight, like you'd share something with them, we should do this. They say, okay, we're going to do it. By the time it got implemented, and then especially by the time it began to take any kind of effect out in the real world, that SEO had long moved on from that company. They were gone, and somebody else was in charge and reaping the benefits or the woes of whatever was done, because it was literally it extended past their career lifetime in that organization.
I've seen that happen, especially with clients in the Bay Area, where people tend to hop around quite a bit. Where over a year, I've had 3 different directors to report to, and at one point, one client had their SEO had left, their director had left, and their VP had left. They had nobody. So it was quite an interesting scenario. So I'm sure we've all dealt with the frustrations out there. If you're currently watching, use the comment box. Let us know if you've had a scenario like this before. And it's interesting because with me on the consultant side or the agency side, we span from clients where we've developed the site, we host the site, we make the changes, and if something needs to be done, it's instantly done, right? And then there's instant performance from that. Then we have clients there's these larger industrial juggernauts where it just takes so long to get something implemented. But as you know, getting a change done on an enterprise level site that has a huge link portfolio, a huge audience portfolio, traffic portfolio, they have all of their cylinders firing from a marketing perspective with getting the traffic there. Just a small title tag change or updating a canonical or something like that can make all the difference in the world. So, which gets me into the Edge SEO component. I haven't dealt with this very much. Like we were talking a little bit before the show, I've done a little bit on the Cloudflare worker side of things. But could you explain to our listeners the concept of Edge SEO and how it's introduced as a solution between me wanting to get everything done on the audit side, 100%, not 50%, and then also the enterprise level client maybe taking a little bit longer than expected to be able to implement even a small percentage of those changes.
Right. So the concept of Edge SEO has been around for a while, and it's certainly not something we invented. The idea's been around for a while, and I'll keep it at a fairly simple level. Won't get too technical here, but it's simply the idea that most larger sites these days operate on some type of CDN, Cloudflare, Amazon. Is that some type of implementation where you have an implementation of your site that stands between the user and your actual physical site, as much as a site is a physical thing, the actual hard-coded site, if you will. That there's a cloud component that's in between. And the idea of Edge SEO, it's been around again for a while, is that it would be possible to use that to create changes on the fly, literally on the fly, to hundreds of different elements of a site. Everything from technical elements we've talked about, titles, H1s, canonicals, indexation, content, even possibly things like internal linking, as well as content on a page, and then to make those changes, and they would be fully visible through this technology to not only to users, but also to bots. So search engines, it's still search engine friendly. It's the version of the site that the bot would see the same thing that a visitor would see. So they would actually see the change or see the HTML, whatever level the change is at, to make it, it's a real change, even though you're not doing anything to the hard coding of the site. So that's the concept. That's the basic concept. It's been around for a while. There have been some implementations of it, some standalone tools out there, some experiments, but all that we've seen, they've been very limited. Sometimes it's been used for like a testing environment, or maybe there's a couple tools out there that can change 2 or 3 things, kind of mess around 2 or 3 things. But when we're talking to clients like that, it's an extreme example, but it's a great example. That one I mentioned a few minutes ago, who virtually gave up on SEO because they just couldn't get through any of the changes that they needed to do. It got us thinking, because we believe seoClarity is the best SEO platform that's out there. We provide the most and the best data. We use all kinds of machine learning, AI, to provide the insights that are needed, but all of that comes to naught if you can't implement it. So what we are on the verge of launching, and it's very close to launching. We're just calling it Project X right now, but it will be the largest implementation of Edge SEO technology ever put out there. And it will enable our clients to literally at the click of a button implement almost any change to any element that you could do on a site instantaneously. And so not only does that enable you to get changes out much faster and in there and give you the time, and for a lot of these kind of changes, you're still going to want to go through the process and eventually get that hard coded, as it were, on your site. But in the meantime, the change is out there and it's active and it's working for you. The other thing that it enables is instantaneous testing. You want to do a test, you set it up, you click the button, the test is live now. So you're getting results, within a day, within days, rather than waiting for weeks or months to get the results of a test. So we're very excited about it. It's got our clients very excited, and we think it's going to really make an impact in the world for a lot of these major brands that work with us.
It's funny you bring up the testing component of it, right? Because there's so does this mean no more like URL-1, URL-2, URL-test /test/ whatever surprises on that side? Like, can changes be made and tests and split tests be run without changing the URL itself to the end user and really potentially messing up things if not done correctly?
There may be ways to do that. Yeah, I'm not absolutely certain that we can implement it that way, but because you're working in this virtual environment, there's a lot of possibilities for setting things up and segmenting things in ways that would be more difficult to do on your actual site. So that's a good question. I'm going to take that back to our developers and see what they say about that. But the thing I do know that you can do is, as I said, is implement the testing. Like make a change. You want to make a small change, you can make it right away and start getting the data on it, that very same day on how that affects your users.
I kind of see a little bit of parallels too with headless e-commerce as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different limitations with there's some great e-commerce platforms, right? But they all come with their pros and cons, right?
Sure.
So sometimes when something's completely out of the box, there's a lot of limitations on that side, but giving your developers the ability to do what they want or to do what you want, as opposed to being dependent upon what's out of the box, is kind of nice. And I've also seen a lot of different, I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a lot of different app companies out there that will produce an iPhone or an Android app that's utilizing the Shopify backend, right, to produce a whole new e-commerce app based upon maybe a segment of, maybe you have a site that has 100 different categories, but if you can take a segment of that, kind of like how about.com has been chopped into so many different sites, and take a segment of that and turn an app that's specifically for basketball shoe app, mm-hmm. and a tennis shoe app and a running sneaker app, all powered by Foot Locker's backend, for example,
right? Where
you can really segment down to the user who you're looking for. Like that kind of stuff really excites me, because it's kind of like, hey, let's utilize the feeds and the APIs for a little bit more than just serving to the Google shopping side of things. Yeah. Let's use it on our own, right?
There's a lot of potential in this technology. For now, we're focused mostly on the Workaday SEO and what they want to do, because that's who we work with and their needs, and just enabling them to do these kind of changes. Another advantage of this that this could have, depending on how your organization works and everything, some organizations may still be a little bit reticent about using this completely or using it for everything, but you could certainly use it for proof of concept. You were talking before about, getting that buy-in and how, like, winning an award, if you're an in-house SEO, winning an award might help you to get more buy-in from the higher ups and more credibility for your SEO department. Well, imagine if you could, get permission to make some test changes using this kind of environment where you're going to have the results much more quickly. Then you can go to those in authority in your organization and say, hey, look, here's my experiment. Here's the proof. Here's what happened. Can we do more of that? Yeah. Getting that more quickly, instead of like proposing something and then by the time you come back with results, it's 2 CEOs later, 2 chief marketing officers later, and he said, "What are you talking about? I never even heard about that. I don't know what you're talking about." So accelerating the pace again from data to insight to action is everything that we're about, and we're so excited about this because we think this is going to be the next leap where we're not just helping our clients anymore on the data insight side, but actually getting them to action faster, which is just going to be so meaningful for so many of them.
And just going back to that timeline that you were discussing, the average of 6 months of getting 50 to 40% of your SEO changes implemented. and then it taking much longer to take effect. It just like occurs to me, like how many things change in the world that we live in over the course of 6 months to a year, right? So if I'm going and I'm doing an audit, if I did an audit in 2019 and it's now finally being implemented, it was only the components of that audit that can be implemented over that time. What else has changed over the past year, right? Like not only from a tech side, but from a user behavior side, from a prioritization side, from a conversion side with delivery being options or curbside pickup or this and that because of the pandemic. So it's kind of exciting. And there's also some parallels that are just occurring to me in my head while you're talking between SEO and PPC. Because one thing I've always been a little bit jealous about the world of PPC is their ability to create customized landing pages based upon not just what people are searching for from a keyword perspective, but what the users are interested in, right? Changing the images around, changing the header, changing the form instantly. Because I'll be on a meeting with the PPC team and I'll be talking about our conversion rates and they'll be like, well, our conversion rates are this. And like, well, that's because you're able to customize the landing page on the fly. So
imagine being able to do that on the organic side, where we could do that too. That's what we're looking to create here with this. That's the dream, and we think it's going to be very exciting for people to start to make use of that and see what they can do with it. We know, as we always do, one of the exciting things about this, and that I love about my job, is that that no matter how good a thing we dream up, as soon as we put it out there and our clients start using it, we get like so many more fabulous ideas that we didn't even think of. And so it's just going to get better and better. The use cases, the implementations will come back to us, and we'll be implementing that feedback. One quick thing that we already know that we're going to do, and it's been asked of us by our clients, is within our platform we have things called actionable insights, where we've highly automated the process of alerting you in real time about issues or opportunities that are happening with your site. To be able to connect these two things together and to be able to say, I see an issue has come up, it's emerged. Instead of before, like you push the task button, you sign it to somebody in your department, they work on it, then it goes through the approval process, then it goes to IT. Like actually pushing the button and it's done. It's the fix that we recommend is on the air, live to your users and your search engines instantly. That's the exciting vision that we're putting out there.
I see that as being a plus. I really do like the proactive approach to an SEO audit, not waiting for like a user to do a crawl and a user to figure all of that out and then communicating that up the line. And in addition to you guys, there's some other tools that we've been talking to that also do something very similar, like ping this. You need to fix this right now. You need, somebody's gone and messed this up on the code side. Fix this right now, and the ability to just boom, fixed. That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. Another thing too that you brought up is the ability to test and change quickly or quicker than usual is quite nice with Edge SEO. But ultimately, you're going to want to fix the root site at the same time. Like you don't want you can take an old decrepit wooden house and put vinyl siding on it and it looks new, but it's still an old house that's falling apart even behind that vinyl siding. So you're going to want to implement these changes over time, I would imagine too.
Yeah, and that's going to be our strong recommendation to our users, is that you do that. Like it's a two-pronged process. Like you use the Edge SEO to get the fix out there immediately. So the repair is done. You stop the water leak or whatever house metaphors we want to bring in here, and then you start looking for the contractor and the plumber and who's going to come in, and you start getting estimates and you plan out with it, but you still want to fix those pipes in the meantime, while you've stopped the leak. So it's the ability to do both, to have your pie and eat it too in the SEO world, which I think is going to be really, really wonderful for the users.
Very cool. Very cool. In addition to Edge SEO, what else have you been working on? Or
one of the
what's piqued your interest recently?
Yeah, one of the latest things we've been excited about is we call Content Guard, which is we think the most advanced page monitoring system out there. We just came out of our beta with that and introduced it live to all of our clients. The beta group loved it. got just a lot of great feedback and comment and testimonials from them. And what Content Guard, does is it just monitors hundreds of elements on your site. You feed it your critical URLs or the URLs of a competitor. If we can crawl it, we can monitor it, and it alerts you when any change happens to the page. So this is another frustration point for SEOs, especially at the enterprise level, is lots of people have their fingers in your site. You're not the only one. So somebody out there in some other department, for whatever reason, changes an H1 or changes a piece of content or changes some code, whatever. They make a change, and you only find out about it when the ranking of the page suddenly tanks. With Content Guard, you know about it immediately that day, and you can assess it and find out who made that change, why was that made, do I need to fix it? So all these kind of things of getting people that. And the other thing that we've been very excited about is the upgrade of our topic explorer using intelligent matching, a whole different level of kind of reverse engineering the kind of entity connection, semantic connection that Google is actually using today, natural language processing, to figure out and give you related topics that you never would find before through any traditional keyword tool. So those are all the stuff. That's all the stuff that's in process or coming out right now that we're just very excited about. A lot more down the pike, but always working hard at seoClarity to do something new for our clients.
Cool. And the entity thing kind of brings us back to how I originally met you, which is through Google Plus and authorship.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Google Plus.
Yeah.
But it's funny how things do come around, especially with years ago trying to optimize and set up that author portfolio and background transparently with Google Plus, and then now EAT becoming such an emphasis of the SEO industry at the same time. It's funny, even after a decade, we're still talking about things like authorship. May not be syncing up the reciprocity between your blog author profile and your Google Plus profile and your publisher tag, but there is a lot of that still going on. So that's really cool to see on that side. And we're going to have Jason Barnard on in the future too, to talk a little bit about entity building as well. You guys ever had a chance to jam yet virtually, by the way?
Very much so. I love Jason. I was on his show just a few weeks ago talking about these things. So yeah, I always love being with Jason. When you come on I've been on a couple times over the years, maybe 3 times. And one of the things I always look forward to is, he sings you in if you're on his show. And so the last time I was on, we did it as a duet, which is really hard to do on Zoom, but we.
I'm not going to entertain you with my off-pitch singing voice at the moment.
Yeah, Jason's one of a kind, and we'll let him be that one of a kind.
There you go. We will. And are you judging or participating in the U.S. Search Awards this year?
We are participating. In fact, earlier today, I was working on our entries. We're working to get them in by that early bird deadline. We're looking forward to this. Will be our second time as seoClarity at the U.S. Search Awards, and we're very excited and looking forward to being a part of that again.
So with your background of being involved with some of the companies that have been the top winners of the awards over the years, do you have any tips for people who are submitting for the first time in terms of the importance of their entry and communicating exactly what they've been doing?
Yeah, it's really, obviously there's things that you'll hear about from the judges if you read the things. I know Don't Panic has some great resources on, how to do a winning entry, and you should definitely look those up. But overall, what we found, the things that are critical are first of all, just being complete, like actually answer what they're asking you on the entry form and be very thorough. But probably one of the most important things I think you can do is tell a story. So in the beginning of your entry, make clear the need, whatever you've done, whether it's a piece of consulting work, whether it's designing a product, piece of a marketing campaign, what was the need out there? What was the thing the problem, the solution that was needed? And then everything else in your entry should relate back to that, especially any results or metrics or whatever you're sharing. So I hear from judges all the time. So often it's sad, like, this looks like a good thing, but they described a situation or a problem in their first part, and when they came to the solution or the output, it had nothing to do with that. So that's one thing. So be thorough and tell a story, I think, are the two best recommendations that I can give.
And find someone to proofread.
Oh God, yeah.
As well.
Yeah, you hear that all the time too. Yeah. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a lot of effort to do these entries, and an incredible expense, but a little bit of expense is involved. It's time away from other things you could be doing. It's worth spending the time on. Yeah. Have somebody proofread it. It should be well written. Don't. I just kind of know my past as a teacher. Like those little things, little grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, things like that. Even if you have a good entry, they kind of stick in the judge's mind somewhere. Like they didn't take the time. If they didn't really care enough to get this right, like how good a job are they really doing?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And, sometimes SEO can be a somewhat thankless job, or at least a little bit too much behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it's good to get out there, in front. And based upon, I actually give the same advice to my son, who has incredibly sloppy handwriting because he tries to get all of his quizzes done and tests done as fast as possible. I'm like, even if the answer's right, if the teacher can't read it, it's wrong. Right. Yep. Yeah. So dot the I's, cross the T's, get your grammar correct, take the time to have an editor look over it, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, Simon and my other friends who are regularly judges in these events have told me all the time. It's like, it brings them almost to tears sometimes to see what probably would have been a good entry, but just it's so shoddily written, or it's incomplete, or sections are left out. It just happens all the time. People who would have had a chance, they just spend a little bit more time and care on it.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So just as a reminder, our sponsor today for the SEJ show is the US Search Awards. I've just dropped a link for those of you that are on live. You can go to ussearchawards.com for more information. The early bird entries are until June 18th, and then the final entry date is June 25th. Shortlists will be announced on July 16th. And then the final awards ceremony for the US Search Awards will be on October 7th, which is typically the time that a lot of us are in Vegas. Not sure what's going to be happening this year, but we'll see. Mark, it's really been a treat. Where can folks find you online?
Just by my name. I have a very Googleable name. I own the first page of Google for my name, Mark Traphagen. So as long as you spell it right, you'll find me. But I'm on Twitter by that name, LinkedIn. Those are all great places to look me up, and I'd love to hear from anybody in the audience.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I've just dropped your Twitter profile in here. It is kind of nice having a unique name. There's not too many Loren Bakers out there. Every once in a while, there's one, maybe maybe something pops up, but I'm sure there's probably less funny. Mark Traphagens.
I was looking. The only other Mark Traphagen who shows up in search at all is a intellectual property attorney in DC. And back in the early days of email, I used to get his emails, and he used to get mine sometime. That doesn't happen anymore. But I've so bumped him out of search. I noticed, especially on Bing, that all of the auto completes for my name or auto suggests are always like Mark Traphagen attorney, Mark Traphagen lawyer, Mark Traphagen
That's property. Really interesting.
It's like people trying to desperately to find this guy and get me out of the way. But he's got just quickly, like I found out, I just saw this today. He's got me beat in one area, Google Scholar. He owns Google Scholar.
Well, it's time for you to write a scholarly book. I guess I got to put to your resume.
Put that flat cap back on and beat him there too.
There you go. Well, Mark, again, it's been a treat. Thank you so much for jumping on this Friday afternoon. I hope you have a very nice Memorial Day weekend. Anything planned?
Just some time with family and friends. Remembering the people that have sacrificed for us, and enjoying a good weekend together. So
there you go. Likewise. Well, take care. Thanks for everybody who jumped on today. Really appreciate it. This has been Loren Baker with SEJ and Mark Traphagen of SEoClarity discussing Edge SEO and the US Search Awards. So thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Search Engine Journal Show. If you liked this episode, subscribe to our channel for so much more and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.